Hello, and welcome to our newest build guide for the Juggernaut Ascendancy. The Tectonic Slam belongs to the Slam archetype that specializes in slow but powerful melee attacks. The transfigured Tectonic Slam of CATACLYSM expands this concept even further by consuming all your endurance charges at once to greatly improve your final damage and area of effect. To make it worthwhile, you will need lots of endurance charges at your disposal. Generating all your endurance charges between each attack is not quite practical, and you can't use the famous Ralakesh's impatience, as you still need to consume those charges in order to boost your slams. Fortunately, there is another smart way you can use this skill. The General's Cry creates clones that perform a single attack before dissipating. Those Mirage Warriors are your perfect replicas. They even spawn with the same amount of active endurance charges as you. They attack only once, so losing all charges after a single attack is not a problem. With the Call to Arms gem, you will automatically use your war cry every 2 seconds, summoning up to 6 Mirage Warriors by default. The clones are created from the nearby corpses, but they do not consume them in the process. To summon the necessary corpses and curse your enemies, you will use a simple cast, while channeling set up with the Cyclone skill. The Mirage Warriors are not exactly minions, they are clones that mimic all your stats. You will convert all the physical damage into fire damage, so lowering or penetrating enemy resistance will be quite important. As a Juggernaut, you will have no problems reaching very high amounts of armor, which will also partially apply to elemental damage. You will also have the endurance charges, which grant you tons of extra physical damage mitigation. While mapping everything around you will erupt with fiery fissures, you are mostly limited by your movement speed and cooldowns. The damage against regular bosses is decent, but it is hard to push it further without sacrificing defenses. For the best experience with this setup, we recommend starting with at least 20 Divine Orbs, but it can be done for cheaper if you are familiar with this playstyle. The build uses a few unique items, but none of them are necessary for the functionality. Both General's Cry and Tectonic Slam greatly benefit from the additional gem quality. The Circle of Guilt is usually the best ring to use, even more so if you manage to get one with an additional endurance charge as the implicit. With so many endurance charges and armor, you can comfortably wear this helmet without a big difference in your defense. On the other hand, you will notice a drastic increase in your damage. The Dawn Strider boots will double the effect of the Ancestral Warchief and make it a bit more reliable. You should corrupt them to gain additional endurance charge, which should be fairly easy considering their low price. You can use those boots for the convenience, but you will still need to generate your endurance charges anyway. You can generate all your charges with the Warcry Cluster Jewel quite reliably instead. Getting the recommended corruption will be expensive. The additional quality from this amulet is very powerful for this build. It increases the amount of Mirage Warriors you can summon, lowers the cooldown of the General's Cry, and improves the endurance charge bonus of the Tectonic Slam. You can disregard your defense and opt for even more gem quality for your main setup, which will greatly improve your damage. With the Ashes of the Stars, you will be able to summon 9 Mirage Warriors. The Circle of Guilt offers very powerful modifiers when you use Herald of Purity. Conveniently enough, it is also the easiest source of additional endurance charges via synthesized implicits. You can also use the Circle of Anguish with the Herald of Ash instead if you have better modifiers on it. This jewel adds certain bonuses to nearby notables you will pick anyway. There are a lot of useful modifiers such as melee critical strikes, extra fire damage, or chance to deal double damage. You can also use the Brutal Restraint to get bonuses to elemental damage, critical strike chance, accuracy, and flash charges. The Sublime Vision is a noteworthy jewel. It can raise your endurance charge limit by 1. Non-aura reservation skills such as Heralds are still available, however, but you will have to invest a lot more into accuracy rating due to the lack of precision. The attack performed by Mirage Warriors counts as exerted, so the Warbringer notable from the Berserker Ascendancy can grant you 50% more damage and generate a bit of rage. It is a very powerful set of jewels, but it is also equally expensive. The bonuses related to determination and precision are very powerful, but mixing them might be hard to achieve. You can also include a level 1 vitality in your setup to benefit from its modifiers. Your main way of increasing the damage will be high physical damage converted into fire damage and critical strikes. The attack speed doesn't directly affect your DPS, but you have to ensure your clones perform their attack before being overwritten. The additional endurance charges are not as impactful as it is for other charge stackers, so don't chase them if it's too expensive. Try to use tattoos to make the gearing process easier. On your weapon, look for the highest physical damage and critical strike, and potentially include accuracy rating or elemental penetration. The best base would be the eventuality rod for bonus charges, but a regular axe or staff can be more cost effective depending on the market. Your armor is a defensive piece that can grant you plenty of damage too. The Hunter's Influence allows you to apply additional curse and increase the base critical strike chance of your attacks. Other than that, look for a high maximum life, resistance, and armor rating. Use rare gloves with bonuses to maximum life, resistance, and armor. You can also include accuracy rating or attack speed. Use the Eldritch Influence to apply fire exposure with your hits and generate rage with attacks. On your belt, you should focus on maximum life, lacking resistances, flask charges, and elemental damage with attacks. It should be a Stygian Vice base to use an additional jewel. On the Extra Abyss jewel, you should look for maximum life, critical strike multiplier or accuracy rating, and cover lacking resistances or attributes. You may also seek the immunity to corrupted blood. You might need to use a rare ring with tons of maximum life and lacking resistances or attributes. Try to include bonuses to accuracy, elemental damage, and mana cost reduction. It also can provide you with the endurance charge, but it might be very expensive. On your jewels, you should look for bonuses to maximum life, elemental resistances and attributes, and at least one modifier with critical strike multiplier. They can also grant you a decent amount of accuracy rating. You can source your leech from the Feed the Fury and Fuel the Fight notables. If you can acquire it from other sources, try to focus on staff notables, which usually offer much more damage. The Warcry medium jewels offer you amazing utility. The mob mentality will generate your charges. Lead by example grants you the onslaught buff for better clear speed. The warning call greatly improves your armor, while the rattling bellow offers massive amounts of damage. The Bottled Faith is the best offensive flask for almost any build. It increases your critical strike chance and damage against enemies standing on the consecrated ground, which is created upon use. For your remaining magic flasks, we recommend using a life flask with bleeding removal, diamond flask with bonus critical strike chance, granite flask with increased armor rating, and a quicksilver flask with movement speed bonus. The Tectonic Slam of Cataclysm is a slam that releases a fiery fissure in front of you and consumes your endurance charges to greatly increase its damage and radius. The General's Cry performs a war cry that creates mirage warriors from nearby corpses that use the linked attack once before dissipating. The mirage warriors have the same amount of endurance charges as you. The Call to Arms automatically triggers linked war cry when it is ready to use. It used to be a keystone on the passive tree, but the cooldown of the General's Cry was lowered by 1 second to compensate. For your active gems, try to get them corrupted with 23% quality so you can save up currency on the ashes of the Star's Amulet. If you have 10 endurance charges or more, you can use the endurance charge on melee stun support gem instead. The Cyclone is a channeling melee skill that allows you to deal damage and trigger spells while moving at a reduced rate. The Desecrate summon corpses that you need to create Mirage Warriors. The Flammability is a potent curse that lowers the fire resistance of affected enemies. It is your main curse. On top of casting the spells, channeling the Cyclone will also grant you the Infusion buff that improves your global damage. If you don't have problems with mana sustain, you can use the Fortify support instead. The Determination is a defensive aura that grants you plenty of armor rating and allows you to scale it further. The Precision is a very important aura that grants you a lot of accuracy, rating, and critical strike chance. The Herald of Purity is a very good skill that improves your physical damage. You can also use the Herald of Ash if you have a relevant Circle of Anguish. The Blood and Sand is a skill that allows you to change stances that improve your area skills. If you use Sublime Vision, you should replace the Precision with the Herald of Ash, but it will require additional investments into mana reservation efficiency. The Assassin's Mark is a curse that can be applied only to one enemy at a time. It increases your critical strike chance and damage against the target. You will need a source of additional curses to use this mark. You can apply it automatically with any of your hits thanks to this setup. The Leap Slam performs a quick jump towards the targeted location. The first jump in a row is faster, but it's still quite slow compared to instant blinks. The Molten Shell is a guard skill that increases your armor rating and absorbs part of the incoming damage. The Life Tap support is recommended so you can always use those skills regardless of your mana. You can use either automation or cast when damage taken support to automate your guard skill. The Ancestral Warchief summons a totem that greatly improves your melee damage. Use the Vaal version for an even stronger buff. You can use the Culling Strike support to make your totems instantly kill any enemy left under 10% of their maximum life. If you have any rage generation, you can use the Berserk to greatly boost your damage for a short moment. It also reduces the damage you take during the effect. It is best to kill all bandits to get an additional 2 passive tree skill points, but you can help Alira to get an early boost. The Soul of the Brine King as your major Pantheon power grants you immunity to freeze and prevents getting stun-locked by enemies. The minor Pantheon power is mostly situational, but the Soul of Ralakesh is universally useful to reduce the damage you take from bleeding effects. Now, the General's Cry is not exactly the best leveling skill out there. You can use it as a secondary setup, but it won't be enough to be your main skill at first. To level up, we recommend using a basic melee setup with a two-handed axe, as it will be safer and probably faster. You can transition to the pure General's Cry setup at around level 85, although it can be done much faster if you are experienced with this playstyle. For more tips and an adjusted leveling tree, visit our written guide on the website. The final passive tree aims to pick up every additional endurance charge notable. While doing so, you will also pick up plenty of bonuses to your maximum life and armor, reduce the cooldown of your Warcry and set a minimum power to 10, improve your critical strikes and get the remaining conversion to fire damage via mastery. You will also get plenty of mana reservation efficiency, so you don't have to spend extra currency on the Enlightened support gem. If you decide to use the Diala's Malefaction armor, you should respect the Unbreakable Notable, as it provides little to no defense. Instead, you should pick up the Unrelenting Notable, which offers flat damage reduction and lots of chaos resistance. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more of our work or want to see a specific build guide, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. Have a good day and see you next time.